the chosen one. These words did not find you by chance. God sent you here for a divine cause. What you're going to hear is more than simply encouragement. This is confirmation. Confirmation that the conflict was not just a random storm. It was a holy examination. And the fact that you are still standing, believing, and acting in faith demonstrates one thing. You passed not because it was easy, but because you refused to bend, break, or submit to anything that attempted to force you to give up your soul in exchange for success. This is a heavenly reminder that the test was not intended to ruin you. It was intended to expose you. Let's split it down into 7 beautiful chapters. Before we delve in, please like, share, and subscribe. Because this message is more than simply substance. It's heavenly affirmation for the selected ones who completed the most difficult exam without ever compromising. If your soul connects with this truth, type it in the comments right now. That number is not random. It is a holy code, a signal to heaven and a proclamation to hell that you did not give up, fake it, or sell out to get here. You were tested and passed. Not everyone will read the whole message. Only those who have been genuinely purified in fire, those who have gone through storms with integrity and held on to God's hand when no one else did, will be rewarded. Those who remain will find clarity, healing, confirmation, and heavenly recompense in every word. This is not a one-time listen. It's a spiritual mirror, exposing truths that become deeper with each playback. Rewatch it as often as your soul desires. Because with each listen, another layer of your task is exposed. Another aspect of your heavenly recompense will become clearer. You refused to compromise, and now heaven is about to compensate. Let's dig in. Chapter 1. Others could not see the test, but heaven saw all that was selected. 1. The exam you took wasn't written on paper. It wasn't assessed using grades. It was not uploaded for others to view or authenticate. It was quiet, private, and inward. And it made it much more difficult. People around you couldn't understand the weight you carried. They watched you arrive with elegance, but they didn't sense the agony conveyed in quiet. They observed your discipline, but did not see the days. You were drained spiritually. They saw your smile, but did not hear the chats you held with God through your tears. They saw the quiet, but not the storm. The reality is, the genuine exam was never made public. It occurred in peaceful areas. In the meanwhile, you might have cut shortcuts, violated your ideals, or pursued immediate comfort over a long-term goal. But you didn't. You remained planted. You remained obedient when it seemed like it was costing you everything. You were given a shortcut disguised as a solution, prospects that were appealing on the surface but did not resonate with your spirit. Relationships that promised advancement but came at the expense of losing oneself. But you said no. The world told you to flee, yet you stayed still. You waited for your body to scream before acting, and you trusted. When there was no evidence, just a promise. Do you understand this? You were not ignored. You were being watched by heaven. The quiet did not indicate that God was ignoring you. God was waiting to determine whether your character was capable of carrying out the command. He saw how you reacted when no one applauded. He saw the decisions you made while no one was looking. And now every wrong, challenge, and temptation you defeated in secret is being documented in heaven's archives. And this is the prophetic truth. You are now entering a season in which God is preparing to make public what you previously kept hidden. This is not merely a prize. This is heavenly recognition. People will be impressed by your elevation, but they will not realize it was built on years of quiet honesty. What seemed to be nothing was really everything. Heaven saw what humanity had overlooked. Heaven kept note of what others had forgotten. Heaven has already decided. It is time for your prize to be revealed. Because you succeeded when most others would have failed. You achieved it without compromising. And since you didn't fold, God can now put greater faith in you. He's about to provide you access. Others had to manipulate to get, but you waited with purity. The promotion you're going to get is more than simply about status. It is about stewardship. You are being given keys not just to doors, but to dimensions of purpose that need the fortitude you developed in quiet. What you went through did not break you. It transformed you into someone that heaven can utilize without limits. God watched how you remained genuine even when no one applauded you. He observed you step away from what was easy in order to remain connected with what was holy. You did not sell out. You remained steadfast even when standing pained. And now, every scar, sacrifice, and quiet surrender is laying the groundwork for otherworldly achievement. You didn't just pass an exam. You went through the fire and emerged purified, exalted, and anointed for more. Chapter 2. You were tried in quiet and passed with honor. This was not the kind of exam you could prepare for. It wasn't the type where you got instructions, applause, even acknowledgement. It was silent. It was hefty. And it was genuine. It was the kind of exam that no one knew you were taking. The type that occurred in the most unexpected spots in your life. No cameras, no praise, just pressure. Just you, God, and the choices you had to make when it would have been simpler to fold. It's easier to lie. Easier to settle. It's easier to rationalize your actions. You knew deep inside was not in line with who you were meant to be. However, you did not fold. You did not sell out. You did not compromise your integrity in order to survive a transitory circumstance while no one was looking. Your choices nevertheless glorify God. You selected what was right. Even when it seemed that right might lose, you chose what was sacred. Even when holy was lonely, you chose the truth. Even when lying would have gotten you there quicker. You did not retaliate when you were mistreated. Even though your body wanted to reply, you remained silent when speaking out would have been right. You forgave when resentment would have been more logical. You remained planted. Running away would have been easy. You passed an exam that most people don't even recognize. The sort that doesn't just demonstrate what you know. It demonstrates your identity and choice. God is promoting you simply because of who you are. You were tried in quiet, and you passed with honor. You didn't just endure. You are honored. You didn't just survive. You have submitted. You didn't just wait. You worship throughout the wait. That matters in paradise. Heaven does not promote according to popularity. Heaven favors purity. Your name did not need to be popular on earth since it was already inscribed in glory. Your stance at private times was your loudest compliment. And now God is ready to reward you in ways that your opponents will be unable to refute. Because heaven does not reward images. It praises inner strength. God noticed your obedience, even when it was uncomfortable. He saw your constancy when no one was applauding. He watched how you refused to compromise, did not comply. I did not cave, and that honesty is a heavenly assurance. So now when people ask how you were promoted, the response is straightforward. I remained pure while no one was looking. That is what makes you distinct. That is why you are trusted with more. Because heaven does not encourage charisma. Heaven develops character, including your own. Simply pass the test that only the really selected can withstand. Chapter 3. You could have chosen the easy route, but you picked the correct path. The adversary dangled possibilities in front of you, which seemed to be blessings but were really traps. He provided shortcuts that promised instant celebrity without foundation influence, responsibility, or development without procedure. And from the outside, it all seemed to be fantastic and glamorous, with loud applause, enticing fame, and captivating attention, but something didn't set right with you. You sensed the stress. The discernment kicks in. Even when it didn't seem reasonable, your spirit whispered, "Wait for the picked one." You had every opportunity to compromise, cut shortcuts, present a half-truth as evidence, and chase platforms rather than purpose. But you didn't. You knew God hadn't called you to blend in. He asked you to stand out. You were not interested in constructing anything quickly. You wanted to create something everlasting, something that would benefit not just you but future generations. That is why you refused to comply, even when it was simpler. You might have blended into the system, but you were created to disrupt it. You picked the small way, even though the large road seemed to be filled with success. You turned away from opportunities that may have launched you because your soul detected defilement. You said no to doors that seemed to be magnificent on the outside but were soaked with compromise inside. Everyone believed you were insane. They believed you were squandering time, skill, and opportunities. But God knew you were investing rather than spending. Every act of obedience increased interest in the Spirit. There were evenings when you questioned yourself. You had begged God many times. Did I miss it by saying no? But deep down, you knew that the correct path is seldom the easy one. And God never put your hard work to the test. He was testing your heart. Could you still respect Him even if success came slowly? Could you still be faithful? When was fruit not fast? Could you still walk with integrity? When no one was applauding, but you did. Quiet, consistent, and faithful. That is what made you dangerous. Not your charm or contacts, but your character. Your capacity to walk away from anything that was not God, no matter how glittering. Get ready. What lies ahead is proof that the correct path was always worth it. Your capacity to declare, "I'd rather wait for God than win without Him." That's what separated you. That's what saved you. That is what prepared you. And now, since you chose the correct path over the easier one, God is unleashing something that only obedience can uncover. Not just success, but ongoing success. Not just riches, but wealth infused with knowledge. Not only elevation, but elevation that seems to have come from heaven rather than hustling. This is your reward season. Not for striving, but for living by standards. God is going to position you in rooms that you did not network into. You managed your path via obedience. The light that is going to beam on you is not manufactured. It's ancient, divine, and immortal. It is the light of someone who went through the fire and did not succumb to the flames. So do not look back with regret. You did not miss out. You were ridiculed. And now, because you refuse to take the easy way out, God is going to show the world what occurs when a chosen one takes the correct path. Chapter 4, Your faith was challenged when nothing made sense. Let's get genuine. This was not the kind of exam that included instructions or clarification. This was the kind of test that left you in the dark, looking for God in areas that seemed empty. The sort where your prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling. The sort in which everything you thought you understood about time, purpose, and favor was called into question. You were doing everything correctly, but still getting everything wrong. It did not add up. The calculations did not make sense. The doors did not open. The adversary spoke among the loud quiet. Perhaps you were selected rather than called. You remained. You did not run. You did not fold. You did not blaspheme God and go away. You may have wept. You may have yelled. You may have questioned. Despite everything, you continue to say, "God, I trust you." Even when nothing was moving, you remained there when others would have abandoned their faith. You stepped farther into yours. That's what made you unique. You did not wait for entitlement. You waited with expectancy. You did not take the silence as a rejection. You saw it as preparation. You continued to believe. It made sense in your soul, not just in your mind. You understood something that most people never do. Faith is not demonstrated when everything is going well. It is demonstrated when everything seems to be incorrect. God was not just testing your capacity to accept a gift. He was testing your capacity to believe without seeing, trust, touch, obey, and comprehend. And you passed. Not because you were faultless, but because you were persistent. You demonstrated to God that your love for Him was unconditional. It was based on relationships. And here's the divine irony. The very delay that made you feel forgotten is what made you remarkable in paradise. The perplexity that sought to break you is what helped you achieve spiritual clarity, because the storm caused your roots to grow deeper than they had before the drought. Your well has been excavated wider, and now you have something that most people can't fake: unshakable faith. This is why the next blessing will not shatter you. This is why the opening doors will not distract you. This is why the fever you're experiencing will not transform you. Because you've been grounded not in hype, but in Him. And now God is ready to explain everything that did not make sense. He is going to teach you why it had to feel that way. Why did it have to take so long? Why did you have to go through it without clarity? Because if everything had made sense, it would not have needed faith. And if it hadn't required trust, you wouldn't be qualified for what comes next. So elevate your head, the chosen one. You did not simply pass the exam. You passed with honors. And now heaven is preparing to honor you back. Not because you figured everything out, but because you persisted when it didn't make sense. That's the type of trust that God rewards. That's the type of heart God can rely on. Chapter 5. What you lost was part of the test. What you earn will be the chosen reward. Let's discuss the defeat. People that walked away. The doors banged shut. Opportunities that were great but slipped through your fingertips. Seasons when everything you touched seemed to shatter. Not constructing. You weren't only dealing with loss. You were being purified by it. Because in the heavenly classroom of purpose, subtraction typically precedes multiplication. You were unaware of this at the time. Some of those losses were really miraculous removals. God was not punishing you. He was safeguarding you, your energy, your purpose, and your future from attachments that couldn't accompany you to the next level of your calling. You mourned for things that heaven thrilled to remove, because if they had remained, they would have tainted the bounty that is now on its way. Were you stripped? Yes, but not to remain empty. You were emptied so that you might be filled properly. You needed to be free of misleading relationships, misguided desires, and harmful addictions. And now, since you survived the test of loss with grace, without becoming bitter or turning back, you are being prepared for a heavenly restoration. Not a copy, not a second-hand version, but heavenly recompense directly from God. What's coming won't simply replace what you've lost. It will repay and transcend it. Because God does not return things in equal proportion. He multiplies. He elevates. He improves for each time you cry. Every delay you've experienced will result in a crop. There will be a heavenly acceleration for every no you hear from a guy. A yes from above is going to reverberate through every aspect of your existence. Please double your problem. That's not simply a phrase. This is your prophesy. Beauty for ashes. That isn't simply poetry. It is personal. The oil that is going to spill from your life was squeezed during the exact seasons you believed were breaking you. But they were not breaking you. They were qualifying you. You did not lose those items for nothing. You lost them to create space. And now that the place has been cleared, heaven is going to bless your life with fever, fruit, and satisfaction. You give up transitory comfort for everlasting reward, not only in heaven, but also on earth. You survive the furnace, but now you wear the fire. You go in the woods, but now you're into the promise. Everyone who saw you lose will soon see your game, and they'll realize it wasn't luck. It was the Lord. So elevate your head, the chosen one. The ashes won't define you. The barren seasons will not define you. The loss will not restrict you, because what is ahead of you is much larger than what is behind. Heaven is returning what was taken and giving you more than you ever had. This is your award season, not because you were faultless, but because you were loyal. Not because you didn't experience the suffering, but because you believed God throughout it. Get ready, because anything you obtain now will serve as proof of what you lost. Then there was divine purpose all along. Chapter 6. You did not have to cheat, deceive, or compromise. That is why God can trust you. This is the essence of your testimony. The chosen one. The reason the favor is coming is unlike anything you've ever seen before. You did not need to sell your soul to get here. You did not cheat. You did not manipulate. You did not accept the shortcuts that the world kept providing you. You did not lie to seem successful. You did not sacrifice your identity in order to rise higher or fit in quicker. You followed your calling even when it meant sacrificing your comfort. You remained true to your ideals, even when it delayed your breakthrough. And let's be honest, the temptation was real. The adversary provided possibilities, easy exits and speedier routes. Influential individuals attempted to convince you to relax your standards a bit. Culture attempted to persuade you that if you didn't work more or perform for attention, you would be forgotten. But you selected the narrow route. You prioritized purpose above popularity. You prioritized obedience above opportunity. You remained patient and pure even when you watched others using shortcuts to gain advantage. That is not a weakness. That is strength. That isn't failure. That is faithfulness. You didn't just believe in God. You dreaded Him. You respected the procedure. He took you in. You believed that even if it took longer, the payoff would be higher. And now you're going to step in, proving that honesty still wins. That holiness still respects that. Staying grounded in the truth will always outlive the flashiness of falsehoods. God may now trust you not just with a platform, but also with power. Not simply with a blessing, but with significance. You did not follow the world's pattern, therefore you are now prepared to change it. You did not surrender your voice in an attempt to be liked. You did not mute your beliefs only to be included. You stood for honesty even when it wasn't popular. Heaven took notes. You passed the character test. You're currently being given keys to kingdom access. And here's what sets this following level apart. It will not be constructed on images. It will be based around intimacy. God is not concerned about losing you to ego. He doesn't have to be concerned about your platform becoming your idol, since you've been proved not to humans who judge on the surface, but to God, who sees the heart. You've shown that you will not trade truth for trends, will not dilute the oil to make it marketable, and will not surrender your anointing for praise. So prepare yourself not just for advancement, but also for divine duty. What's coming is not a prize for popularity. It is a reaction to purity. You will have influence, but it will be holy. You will have visibility, but your light will lead to God. You will flourish, but your success will be infused with meaning. This is the season when the globe will wonder, how did they get there? The solution will not be relationships, compromise, or clout. It will be a consecration. It will be fidelity. It will be a favor that cannot be faked. Because while others were performing on platforms, you were getting ready in privacy. And now heaven is ready to make its preparation public. The chosen one. The doors that are now opening are not accidental. They're deliberate. They're wonderful. And they are given to those who remain pure when they might have been unclean. Who remain surrendered when they could have taken charge. Who remained concealed until God said, "Now that's you." That is why you are ascending. That is why you are ready. And that is why God's faith in you will maintain the overflow that is coming your way, rather than your own efforts. Chapter 7. It was never simply a test. It was a revelation about who you are. Let's bring it home. The chosen one. This was more than simply an exam to pass. It was a mirror from paradise. A supernatural revelation of who you actually are. It was not about proving anything to others. It was about uncovering what was already within you. God already knew, but you had to see it for yourself. You needed to know how strong you really are, how steadfast you stayed while everything around you fell apart, how pure your heart remained when resentment may have taken root, how steadily you walked when the earth seemed to crumble under your feet. You weren't just going through difficulties. You were shown that you are a spiritual fighter. You did not just endure difficult seasons. They activated you. Each struggle revealed another layer of the divine DNA that was deposited within you before you were created in your mother's womb. You aren't only talented. You are blessed. You are not only intelligent. You are anointed. You don't only have potential. You carry prophesy. And all you've been through was not meant to harm you. It was to corroborate what heaven already knew. You were picked. This exam was never intended to embarrass you. It was intended to mold you, purify the oil, and expand your potential to draw forth the true self. The person who had been buried behind uncertainty, rejection, delay, and disappointment. This was more than simply a season of testing. It was a season of revelation, pulling back every false title and untruth you had been fed, every persona you adopted just for survival. And now, really standing in your raw, pure, unshaken essence, you are ready to ascend. You were never average. You were never missed in heaven's sight, even when the earth attempted to define you by your sorrow. God was defining you according to your potential. You weren't in a waiting period. You were in a growing season, becoming the person God intended you to be in order to bear what He is going to unleash. Become the vessel that can withstand the weight of grandeur. Becoming the leader who would not back down under pressure. Become the light that does not fade when put in darkness. This was never just about survival. It was about identity. This was never just about endurance. It was about evidence. Your proof that purity still has power. That obedience continues to open opportunities, demonstrating that you do not have to sell out to succeed. You stood steadfast. You remained faithful. And now heaven is pronouncing a change in your life. Not because you yelled the most, not because you had the most followers, but because you remained loyal when no one else did. God is going to make a public proclamation via your life. This assertion cannot be refuted. a manifestation that cannot be explained by human effort. He's ready to show the world that, sure, those who remain virtuous are rewarded. Those who did not cheat still won. Those who choose obedience over opportunity nonetheless reach the top. So prepare yourself. The chosen one. What's coming is more than simply a prize. It reveals all that has been promised. Your advancement will be the proof. Your favor will bear fruit. Your tale will be the sermon. What is going to happen in your life will make no sense to the world since it was scripted in heaven. You passed the most difficult test. Heaven might assign, yet you refuse to compromise. Now get ready, because others around you are unaware of what is about to happen. It's not only a breakthrough. It's satisfying. Not simply gift, but purpose. Not just a moment, but momentum. Your name is on it. Your hands are prepared for it. Your life has been designed for it. The exam is finished. The payoff is approaching. And your true identity has now been disclosed.